everybody, this is Christina Wallace. Please see the description for the list of the equipment. I use corn flour for dusting. You could also use icing sugar. Put a little bit on the board and a little bit on the paste itself. You only need one rolling pin if you're just starting out, the larger one. And here you could just use vegetable oil. I find it's easier to clean the edges while still in the cutter. It's a good idea to dust the cutter as well. I find it easier to remove the paste before lifting up the cutter, and this cutter, for it to come off the board easily, you should have dusted it a little bit just before cutting. You can choose to make your paste thicker or thinner depending on how you see your finished product. .28 gauge, the thinner wire, is the wire for the petals. Here you have to cut it at an angle, by the way, for the wires to go in easier. So the 24 gauge is the thicker wire that would hold each individual bloom. As you've noticed, I've skipped the introduction for this video, but if you have any questions, do please ask me. Now for this one, the wire, I'm using sugar glue, and the wire goes about a third in. I find that this is plenty enough to hold the petal in place, and if I stick it any further it might just poke through, so it's kind of unnecessary. If you use bigger petals, then by all means put your wire in slightly further. Use your common sense. I find that placing my petal groove up before the veining, helps to get rid of this groove in most of the flowers quite well, simply because the pressure that goes on the top is stronger. That's where you're really glad there is such thing as foil, because a lot of shapes are too unusual to have a pre-prepared shaper, and why should you have to buy a pre-prepared shaper for everything? So for example, if you have 6 spoons but you need to dry 64 things, here we go. Anyway, now we're going to start painting, or rather dusting and painting our little flower. Make sure you blend your dust really well so they're not grainy, and just improvise with the brushes you have at home. Don't buy them specifically if it's your first time. If you have any brushes at home, of course, that's not a must. If you could see these little 2 bulbous dot lines inside the flower, I had to add them off camera. I just remembered that I didn't add them and I didn't have a camera going. So can you see them over there? Just, you know, just add them by yourself. I'm really sorry. I'm afraid there isn't a magic formula for painting middles of these orchids as any other sugar flower really. All you need to do is look up the close-ups of it and practice. Practice makes perfect. You get a narrow flower tape and also quite a thick one. I'm using a narrow one because it's nicer for smaller details. And I roll it just before the end and then pull it up just like this. By the way, don't forget to pull on your flower tape before rolling it around, because that's what activates the glue. I'll go into slightly more of a detail on doing all of this in my anemone tutorial. I also have a tutorial about all the equipment you would need for making sugar flowers, with some advice of what works and what doesn't, and what's worth buying and what isn't, in my opinion, what works for me. Some little tips and things, so check it out. Before I put my flower together, I cover all the wires, individual wires, with flower tape. That way all these petals and elements of the flower stick together in place very nicely before I start using the tape. Otherwise, it's actually quite hard to get these petals to stay in place while you're securing them. You know, I am really grateful for all of you guys who subscribe and also come and watch my videos. and hopefully some of you even look forward to them, because it kind of keeps me going, keeps me doing all these videos. I enjoy it, and I enjoy having an audience, so thank you. In the near future, I am going to be making yet more flowers, perhaps some berries, blueberries, blackberries. One of them is unusual and one of them is commonly encountered here on YouTube. So I might just do both, I'm not sure yet. And I might do the simplified versions of David Austin and peony and all of those hugely popular flowers. So yeah, keep an eye on my channel. If any of you landed here from Instagram, that you might remember the post about platinum and Nicholas Lodge's self-made paste. I've posted up there, so I might be continuing on that and doing a video comparing the two, probably sometime in April, so stay tuned for that too. And this is the end of this video. If you subscribe, it would totally make my day. I'm not even joking. And I see you again soon.